Three, two, one.
What you counting down for? Like you're on telly or something?
Are we live?
Probably.
It's now streaming live on YouTube. We're in. Right, let's just turn that off. Right, so we're back. It's Sunday night. It's been a funny old weekend. Anyway, we're back. We've got Sam, the Sam from Oval Renewables. Actually, the Electricians Podcast, Electrician of the Year. Come on.
Thank you.
And the inventor of a new type of cable and the business guru. So we're going to be getting into all that with Sam in a bit. We're also going to be covering some sexy topics on the news tonight. Well, I just ripped them off of eFix News. And yeah, we're just going to be getting into all things electrical, renewables, and I don't know, telling Jamie he's not an engineer because he's not. Anyway, down to the sponsors. Let's get this out of the way. We are sponsored by electricianspod.shop. And they exclusively sell Verso products. The Verso products are some of the best on the market at the moment. Because pound for pound, you'll be hard pushed to beat the build quality and reliability of the products. They're really well built. They're really reliable. And to be honest with you, pound for pound, they are unbeatable, in my opinion. Yeah, so, and without further ado, let's hand it over to Jamie Boy.
I'm really glad this podcast on a Sunday night because as you did the read for your fantastic pod shop, I realised that I did the read for CHAUVIN ARNOUX. And then I realised that I needed to lean over into a bag over there to get out my F0607, which is the clamp meter that I want tomorrow, and this micro clamp I've got, which is really good. So yeah, this evening the read, mate, I just do need those for work tomorrow, so I've got them out. CHAUVIN ARNOUX are the number one people to speak to, in my personal opinion, and the opinion of this podcast, if you want to measure something electrical, or even if you don't know what you want to do electrically, but you know you want to measure something, their reps and the people in the office are excellent technical advisors, and they will point you in the right direction. So give them a try first, is my advice.
I do
And
agree.
they do actually...
However, this is a bit of kick in the bollocks. I've been gifted this week. IS tester. We're giving this away today. This was gifted to us by the very lovely Liberato del Greco of Azuri Electrical. So he wanted to give this away. Some lucky person's going to win this on this episode.
I'm sure if people are testing it over that, it don't matter, does it? We don't mind. We're not all one way.
Do you know what it is?
Sam,
it's just another.
Sam, have you got? Go on.
It's just another electrician kicking in to the community. You can't knock that, can you?
I'm sure even the lads at CHAUVIN ARNOUX wouldn't knock that. Sam, did you get your one of these?
I've not got it yet. No. I've been speaking to Kev. I think he was away, and then we fell on Christmas and New Year.
Oh, right.
I've actually got the Pell. Is it 103? I can't remember the thing on it, but I've got that on a job, and I need to go back and take it off. So
he's still there.
So trying to tie it all in, but
I was going to say because CHAUVIN ARNOUX's post is the best of the business.
Yeah, he's going to call pass. Yeah,
I should have brought my barometer in. They sent me a barometer as well, cool, like you get on a ship. But I ain't got it with me. It's not the guys I'll pin that up. But yeah, CHAUVIN, you've had your money's worth tonight. Enjoy. Give them a try.
What was I going to say? Right, Jamie, news. Let's do it.
News VT first, otherwise you get very, very upset.
Well, what's the point of having it if you don't use it? You know what I mean?
This is true. A bit like my penis.
Ladies and gentlemen, monetized again.
Oh, here we go. You asked for it. We're live. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, it is January. The 31st will soon be upon us. Remember, your self-assessment tax return. Otherwise, you'll get fined for £100, I believe it is, isn't it?
Do you know what? I'm definitely getting fined. I don't even know how to do mine. I haven't spoke to my accountant for a year, and I don't.
You've actually got an accountant.
Yeah, he's my pal from school.
Oh, fair enough. I knew there was something dodgy about it. I was on about this today. I just did an Instagram story. Someone messaged me and asked me about accountants there. And just a little tip, yeah, relate to this. When you're in business, certainly at my level, I would imagine Sam is probably the same, although he can correct me after us, yeah? You are not an accountant. You are a bookkeeper. So all you're doing is collecting receipts, giving out invoice and that. Your accountant should be doing all this for you, but it is still your responsibility to pay the bill on time. So just be aware of that, or you get fined.
Don't you think that's a bit of a piss take though? It's a bit like solicitors and people like, I suppose a bit less like solicitors, but you get an accountant to do all the stuff that you don't know how to do. But if any S hits the fan,
Yeah,
it's you that's on the chopping block. And I've never really felt that was very fair. But yeah, we've just swapped accountants because the last ones were absolutely useless, which is a tough thing to do when you're like trying to run a business and then you're trying to separate from one accountant and go to another
It's
one.
almost like they tie you up so you can't.
Yeah.
My old man got, when I was younger than I could understand. My old man had a bad accountant and got done by the revenue. Like, come round and goes, we want, I don't know, 20 grand off you back in the 80s. And that was like, well, but he was like, but we've got an accountant. Like, well, it's your responsibility. You're the director. So yeah, it is what it is. But
we had bailiffs turning up at the door for missed CIS payments and things like that, and we were like,
what? Wow.
And we rang into the accountants obviously the next day, and all the post had been going to them, and we said, have you had any letters from us? Because we've had these bailiffs turn up, and they were like, oh no, I don't think so, but I'll check on Monday morning. They checked and they'd had like 3 letters and just never passed them on. And they were the ones that were telling us how much to pay as well. So
that is not what you got an accountant for, is it? That is not what you become.
That's where, like I say, they're not accountable enough, I don't think. But anyway, yeah.
CIS is the biggest pain in the arse. CIS is something I really, really hate. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
And then I like getting paid CIS because it just means I don't have to do anything. I like that. But
as long as it is, this is the thing though. You're not getting paid the tax because they're taking it off you. As long as they're paying it, otherwise you're liable for it.
Yeah, I know somebody got done for that. They was working for a firm and they wasn't paying the CIS payments, and all of a sudden he had like a $4 grand bill.
It
wasn't over renewables, was it? Is that why the bailiffs were coming knocking around?
Does anyone know why it was brought in CIS?
Did it stop everyone? Like any work, like foreign workers or workers from different places disappearing?
No, I do know this. No, I do know this.
Go on then. Go on, that's big moment.
It might be this, because when I first started out subbing, you could get paid overseas and you pay like 4%. You pay 4% tax, and you could just literally. I was getting like £450 a week as like a labourer.
It was not that. It was when they built the M1, they brought in loads of Irish labour because obviously the Irish are traditionally ground workers and stuff like that. They all came over, took all the cash, and did one. Fair play to them. So they brought it in to stop it at source. That's what it was originally brought in for. But yeah, it's that time of the year. Don't forget. Otherwise,
do you know what's funny, right? My mate was telling me the other day, he's actually a landscaper, and his accountant phoned him up and goes, oh, you got to pay 15 grand this week. The bill's just coming through. You got to pay it this week. And he's like, why are you telling me now? Like, luckily he had it put away because he's really quite frugal with money. But he's like, this week, I think he had like 3 days to pay 15 grand. Like, where do you just rock up 15 grand from if you haven't got it?
This is the thing. I think we'll touch on this with the business stuff tonight, but whatever I get paid, I put 20% in the account for the tax man because that's what they do. They go, oh, by the way, your tax bill's due next week, especially VAT. Like, if you ever spend your VAT, you're going to have a bad time because the VAT man, I don't know if anyone's aware of this, because the VAT man is not tax, it's customs and excise. The tax man, if you owe the tax man money, he can't take your tools off you, he can't take your bed, he can't take your roof off your house because that's not very good. The VAT man, they can rip your ass down and sell the bricks. That's the level of rights they've got. So yeah, if you ever spend your VAT, don't do that.
We sit on the other side of the fence of that because all of our stuff is 0% VAT for customers. We're overspending on our VAT, so we're getting rebates back because we're.
Funny you should mention that. What a segue into the next part of the news.
There we go.
So it's like a project.
Like a new.
This is interesting for consumers, but.
That's literally the worst. That's literally the worst bit of picture you could have found.
That's my battery. That's why I used it. I didn't want to seem to be favouritising things.
You can't even tell it's a battery. It looks like someone's graffitied on the wall.
Sorry, Mister. I never write the news or do the full screen. Wanker. But yeah, this is great news for consumers. Yeah, you're going to get the VAT off, right? Which sounds like it just sounds like a bit of a scam to me. You get the VAT off, yeah, which means all the suppliers are going to put the prices up, something like that. It's a pain in the arse though for people like you, is it not, Sam? Because your VAT bill is now like playing Monopoly in space or something. You know what I mean? There's numbers going everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty used to it with the solar side. And to be honest, a lot of the batteries that we sell with a solar PV system anyway, and it all then is 0% VAT anyway. But this is for retrofit. So if you've already got a solar PV system with or without a battery, if you want to add a battery into it, instead of paying that 20%, you're at 0%. So it is a little bit tricky on the cash flow side of things, and that's, I mean, we could talk about the business side forever.
I want to have you on that.
Mark just said sometimes it takes 3 months before you get your money back.
Can I just clarify this for people that aren't new, Sam? Yeah, because I don't know how this works. For a start, it's 0% VAT. Yeah, I've pulled up 2 contracts for calling that a 20% discount. It's not. It's a 16.666% discount. The one I want to clear up with you is, you go and buy some panels, yeah, for my house. Do you pay VAT on them?
Yeah.
So you pay the VAT. You don't charge the customer the VAT, and then you've got to sit on the loss and get it back. Right, that's I thought it worked. So everyone knows that's how it works now. It's not like the VAT free at source. You still got to pay the VAT.
Which is often something I've thought that would alleviate. You know, we're not a massive company. That it'd alleviate a lot of stress. Would be if it could be at source, because then, you know, we're not overpaying. We're not paying 20% on every material that we buy from, you know, renewable wholesalers, electrical wholesalers, everything, you know, to do with renewables.
But is it nice? Is it nice because when you get your rebate, it's like almost holding out your profit.
Christmas.
Yeah, it's like it's saved up your profit for you almost. That must be quite nice.
I think when you're in the heat of the moment of trying to run like all the day-to-day stuff in the business, you almost forget about it a little bit because you're so preoccupied arranging the next job and like answering questions and things. And sometimes you look at the bank and you're like, we've done loads of jobs this month or this couple of months. How are we not making any money? And then you get the accountants ring up and say, oh, by the way, you've got X amount of thousands coming in a few weeks' time. And you're like, that's where it is. So it's basically the cream is when you actually get the VAT, because the rest of it is you're just trying to make it to that next VAT window a little bit.
We're lingering on the news a lot this week because obviously it's business month and this is what I'm talking about anyway. But is yours the same as mine? Yeah, I was in business for 20 years. I think about 15 years. Yeah, most of that was VAT registered. I could never work it out. Some months the VAT bill would come and I'd be like, right, love, we're on beans for the week because I've got no money. And then other weeks I'd get loads of it back and I'd be like going and buying bags and cars and stuff. It just never seemed to go over any flow. It's like 1 week it's taking it away, next time it's, and I just never got to work it out. It's just a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, it is. It can be up and down depending on what job. Like sometimes you can just do a job and just miss out on that window, and then you have to wait for the next one and stuff. So it is a juggling act, and that's why it'd be nice if it was done at source, so that you didn't even have to think about it. You just, whatever you build was yours, and you weren't waiting for any money to come in.
This is one of them things that, like someone like myself, I'm very new to getting into business. I'm literally in the very first few days, and when I'm hearing stuff like this, it's like, bloody hell, there's a lot more to just being a small business owner than going out, getting the work, doing the work, getting the cash. Yeah, and then you've got the whole back end of it, which is fanning about with VAT. And not that I'm at a VAT stage, and I quite frankly, I wouldn't want to be for a couple of years. It's just another headache that you've got to deal with on top of everything else.
People always
just
say
finding
that.
out about now.
Is it about 80 grand or something like that you have to earn?
I think so, yeah.
Turnover.
But
It's turnover.
Turnover.
If you've got a decent accountant, they'll come to you and they'll say, I was on the flat rate scheme, right, which is like a bit like pay as you go for that. And then one quarter says, if you'd have been on a normal scheme, you'd have saved yourself $5 grand. I was like, that. So I went on a normal scheme. And I actually must admit, because I was a business to business, I did well out of that. I found it better. I didn't mind it. But obviously, if you're a business to consumer or the member of the public, it can be a faff because they don't want to pay it, blah, 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 blah. But for me, it was always right. But obviously, it does increase your accounting level. It increases your time you've got to spend on it. it increases your accounting costs. So it is a bit of a double-edged sword.
100%.
Yeah, it's a funny old thing getting into business, mate. Go on, what's the next segment, Jay?
Well, you know what it is, so you could have segued it nicely, but you didn't like Sam did. Oh, he's forgot the picture! Oh, what a dickhead! Hang on.
Doesn't know what he's doing, does he?
There it is.
Boom. Right,
This is your
so
news.
this year, Canada are putting out a bit of a deal for electricians to go and work, well, to move to Canada. Now, that maybe 10 years ago would have been something everyone had been jumping on. But if you've got your head screwed on now, you would not go to Canada with the communist dictator. What's his name?
Trudeau.
Justin. No, they reckon he's the son of Fidel Castro because his mum used to go out there all the time, and he looks just like him. But he's basically a dictator.
Weird, he's weird, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's a nightmare, and he just he froze all their bank accounts and just took money out. And if you even sent money to him, you had your bank. Listen, I wouldn't go out there for anything.
There was
trucker
like the truckers
thing,
thing, weren't there? Yeah. Now, if we did that in this country, the police would support, wouldn't they, or whatever, or just think, but yeah, they actually started seizing their bank accounts, which is like that's communist stuff. Yeah, that is scary.
Yeah, so I wouldn't go out there. But if you fancy a change of scenery, fancy a change of lifestyle, Canada is open to Sparkies.
Or if you love maple syrup.
I think to be honest, if you're going to go into politics, I think we need to be quiet over here at the minute. With
for sure.
Going on.
Listen, we never talk about politics or current affairs on here, but it's just something to bear in mind. If you see this and think, right, I'm shooting out to Canada, because it's kind of the dream, isn't it? Canada, America, Australia. If you get the chance to go there and work there, or go there and live in another country, it's kind of appealing. But you got to know what you're moving to, you know.
You know what though? Everywhere's the same. Like the Canadians are probably looking at the same thing, and everywhere's got good and bad points though.
100%.
But obviously, if you like maple syrup, you have to also mining, innit? If you want to go to Canada, there's money to be made in mines, but some scary ass stuff being stuck down them bad boys.
Well, they reckon the average salary out there is between 45 and 60, so it's not far off here. But I suppose money goes a lot further out there.
Yeah.
Australia's the same, innit? You get in the mines in Australia, you can earn big money, but the mines are all in the middle of nowhere, and there's nothing around for you to spend it on. So,
and it takes
a rich person in the bottle.
And they reckon it takes to get the grime out of you. I know a few people have been out there and worked in the mines, and to get the grime out of you might take 2 weeks.
The coal mines as well, aren't they? So it's dust. I've never worked in coal, but
yeah, and it's like all bad in your all your lungs. There's a load of problems that come with it. I wouldn't necessarily recommend going working in a bloody coal mine.
I worked in a gypsum mine, as I think I mentioned earlier before, yeah, and there was roads underground, probably about the same.
Bossy as a superhero.
You know how long
being an engineer.
You know how long a garage is? It was roads like that. I used to drive Land Roads down about 40 mile an hour, and I've never been so careful in my life because they'd say, like, if you're in an accident at the front, take an hour to get you out. Then in Australia, it'd take you an hour to get out of the mine. Then it's to fly to hospital 4 hours away anyway. So you really are like totally lonesome and that. So yeah, it's a big old place to be injured basically. And that concludes.
It does conclude the news. Go on, Jamie. What is it? So you called our illustrious guest today in, being the #1 Sparky in the country, because none of the other accolades mean anything. Let's have it right. Luseco 30 under 30 nonsense.
Everything is worthless compared to our awards.
It is. Listen, Luseco 30 under 30. Oh wow, who Luseco anyway? Some 2 Bob Lighting company, and then like. The only one worth winning is Electrician of the Year, and that's our one.
Yeah, because
it was voted on by the other electricians.
It's so good, yeah. I've not been able to send the trophies out yet because I need to let people just calm down about winning.
Exactly.
I can't send the trophies out just yet because people are still on a high and I don't want to move the edge. Yeah.
Also, allegedly a 2 Bob Lighting company.
Allegedly. We'll let it out. So Sam's on because I asked Sam to come on because it's business month. Sam has grown since he's last been on, as you can see by his lovely offices in the background. And he's been talking about something that Sam's going to find really boring, like process and stuff. So I thought we'd get you on to see how it's going.
No, I'm not.
Growing.
No, I don't think it's boring because one of the things that I've found...
you can't even really banter on this podcast anymore. I'm going.
One of the things I've sort of found is like, it is so you've got to balance your time between doing the job, going quoting, then doing the paperwork, sending out invoices, chasing up invoices. And although I'm doing it on a very small scale with a lot less money involved, you must find that this is, plus you've got employees, plus you've got other responsibilities and money to pay out and stuff. How are you dealing with that whole sort of workload? Do you have like a team around you? Have you started employing office bods? How's it? Where are you with all that?
Yeah, so I think the first thing to say is, and I think Jamie will agree from our conversations and things, I don't think anyone is an actual expert or guru in business, and I think that's where all the business courses. Now, I'm not gonna set him off on that, but that's where all these business courses and things are maybe a little bit slightly misleading. Is that everyone just learns in their field day to day, and that has been a massive part of our learning journey. It's been literally me and the wife like trying to battle through invoices, work out the whole VAT thing and everything, to the point now where Jess, my wife, she works for us full time. She's off on maternity leave at the minute, but we just had a new person in the office, David, this week, and then there's another two guys in the office as well. So the office side is growing quite quickly, and that's where this whole process conversation has started, because there's obviously a wage bill to that, and I want everyone to be working as efficiently as possible, but without like a really good skeleton process of person rings in to person pays invoice and leaves you a review, all those steps in the middle. If you don't get them nailed, it's
Can we roll it back a bit, Sam? Because I want to talk about that photo you sent me the other day. Because last time you came on here, that's where you was at in it. Do you want to explain what you sent me the other day to everyone listening?
Yeah, so I was going through, you know how you get those sort of like memories come through on your phone and things like that, and I was looking for a photo, and I came across two videos that I'd filmed for basically just like, this was where we were at, hoping for the day that we were in a nice dry office. And basically I had on my driveway at home, I had about 3 or 4 pallets of panels. I had about 30k of batteries under tarpaulins.
Wow.
My garage was full of like just, you know, isolators and batteries, and up the back of the garden there was all the solar rail. Like literally as soon as morning, all the guys would have to turn up and block the street.
How long ago was that?
That won't be a year. It'll be maybe 6 months or something like that. I'm terrible with dates.
And that's you and your missus slaving around laptops in the kitchen, is it? And having all your gear, having your stores on your drive with a tarpaulin over it.
Pretty much, yeah. It was one step along from that. We had like a little shed thing that we'd made, a bit like yours, Sam, to be honest. And we were operating from that on the office side, but all the materials, because we had a couple of lockup units, like shipping containers on a park just around the corner, but you can't just move a pallet of panels into them, because you got to take them all off the pallet, put them in the van, and unload them again, and you're just risking breaking them. So it was kind of like, just have to leave it there. But it was crazy, like my little girl like scootering in between all the pallets of panels and stuff like that. It was, yeah.
So and what you got now? Oh, sorry, because I'm going next.
So with that, it must be quite. Did you relish the chance to get into a proper commercial unit, or was you a bit worried about getting into a commercial unit and having that monthly nut that you've got to find now, which I expect you don't have to divulge, probably not cheap, because you've got to pay business rates and all that on top as well.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things where it was kind of a necessity at that stage, because we couldn't get any insurance, because you mentioned that to your home insurance, and it's just like, oh, what's the value? Then they're probably thinking, oh, like a couple of grand of like this and that, and you say 60 grand, and they're like, yeah, you're not going to get that on your home insurance, and no commercial policy will do it, because it's on a domestic premises. So it was kind of like you just stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I kind of had to just block out the chances of like something happening to that kit. Luckily, it's so heavy that no one could move it really. But yeah, it kind of got to the point where we just had to get something sorted. And
also, for anyone listening, what storm are we on tonight? What storm is it today?
Isha or something. Yeah.
So anything
It
like
is
that,
mad down here.
So not only are you going to be sat in your bed, shitting your pants, and someone's going to break through your tarpaulin and nick anything, or just vandalise it. But if anything like this storm happens, you just
Oh yeah,
anyhow.
I mean, there was times in the sort of at night where you'd listen out and you'd hear the tarpaulin rattling, and you're like, that rope's come off, so you'd have to go down in your pajamas and like your slippers on and like trying to lash this thing and pissing down. And yeah, it was.
You've got to start there, haven't you? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Jay. How have you found this, like the migration from your drive to this? Obviously, there's a lot of upsides, and the like. Obviously, there's some downsides. It's like I expect the amount you pay on that unit is probably somewhere like another wage almost.
It is, yeah. So we pay on this. I think because it's kind of we managed to negotiate a staged rent, so it increases.
Oh, right.
So I think it was on for like 38 grand a year. But we got this first year at 31, and then we got the next. I think it increases to 32 for the next 2 years, and then I think it's like a 5-year lease from.
And obviously, it's rateable, isn't it? You're not starting off anywhere not rateable. You had to go straight to rateable because what you do.
Yeah, so it's difficult because it's one of them when I've been chatting to people and we had obviously quite a few options. They were either far too small or far too big. And it's one of them things where this probably was slightly on the big side for us, but you have to get what you can get, unless you're able to build something yourself.
Do you know, it's funny?
Bite the bullet.
It's funny. A lot of these units, people think they haven't got one big enough, or people think they've got one that's too big for them. Yeah. Turns out 6 months down the line, it's not big enough.
This week, when I was self-employed last time before COVID, I had a big old long unit. It was probably about 60 foot long, but it was big. And I moved into what is basically a double garage size unit. Just put all the stuff in there. And I've spent the last week after work moving all that stuff into a double garage unit because when I got my own, there's no room in there, can't work in there. Yeah. So effectively, it was cheaper. I didn't miss it, but I couldn't have worked in there. I've now had to rent an office. So I know you're paying like moving stuff around, just getting set up. It's not, I'm under the rates, luckily, but it's not cheap and it's not easy. It's a massive step taking on property.
Yeah, I think just for other people watching, the business rates alone, I think we're about 14 grand a year. So
Jesus,
it's a horrendous tax. It's
rule of thumb
being a business. It's
a good rule of thumb I'd apply, and this is genuinely good advice if someone gave me. Yeah, whatever your rent is, double it for your rates and your water bill and all that. Obviously, electric now probably more, but just double your rent. Yeah, everywhere you go, whatever rent they tell you, times it by 2. That's probably what you're going to be paying.
Yeah, I think that's about right. That's what someone told me.
So
I don't think you'll be under. I don't think you'll be under with that. Definitely not. I think that's probably about.
I believe as well. I think up to 500. Don't quote me on this. Just Google small business rent rate relief. I think up to 500 square foot without a toilet, you don't pay rates. But there are loads of things to look at for that. But don't be put off like if you're all custom premises because there are smaller things, but like shared offices and stuff, but ever knows it's well worth checking out.
One thing that I looked into is some areas do enterprise zones as well, where it might be like a building like this, but because it's an enterprise zone, they get rid of the business rates or they halve them and stuff. Unfortunately, there wasn't anything like that around here, but in the bigger areas there probably is with this whole leveling up thing.
Allegedly, an enterprise zone might be, you know what I mean, a little bit rough. They're not giving away for no reason.
Yeah, probably.
So moving into this place, daunting, but the upside, you're like properly. I don't know. You've almost landed, if you like. Right now we're set. We've got a great base to work from. What are you finding now? You've got all those sort of teething problems out of the way. Obviously you. Like getting stock and stuff like that, you've got that nailed now. What are you finding when it comes to the growing pains of a business and trying to get that all sort of, because an efficient business often is a profitable business. So when you grow at the rate you're growing, how hard is it to keep on track and make sure everything's efficient?
Yeah, I mean, it's like firefighting, really. You put one little fire out and you get that sorted, then there's something else burning just around the corner. But for me, and that's why this year is the year of the process for us, that the office side is our biggest weakness at the minute, not because of anyone that works for us, just our process from start to finish. The guys on site, we can't cut any time that it takes on site because we want the quality to be high. And you can only cut down how long a week's worth of work is. You might be able to nick a day off it now and again, but in the office side, if we can, have the amount of time that we're messing about, asking people where they're up to on this case, that job, this job, I'd say that is our biggest challenge at the minute. But then you have the same challenge that everyone else has, like cash flow, like every members of staff needing certain things and things like that you've got to try and juggle all the time, these things. But equally, we just try and really motivate everybody in the company to just want to do a good job. I feel like everybody goes to work wanting to do a good job, but they get beaten down by the company, the job, everything. And what I say to the guys on site is, you have as long as you want to do this job. We've booked in this week, but it takes an extra day, but do it so you're proud of it and so that you're handing it over, feeling like you haven't rushed or anything. The part of that we then try and incentivize them to do it so that it doesn't take a week's job, doesn't take a month, is that we have like a profit share as a company as well. So at the end of the year, so the more efficient everyone is, the more money they get in the packet just before Christmas. So we try and do things like that.
Mate, there's no other way to do that. You can't encourage people to work hard and fast to a good standard without a carrot and stick like that. You're quite right to take that, I think.
So that's quite a bold decision. That's quite a bold move, and doing that is, I suppose, even doing that's quite a hard balance, because you can't be too generous, because not for any other reason. Then if you're too generous, it's going to come at the cost of the company. So you've got to stay profitable, but you've also got to bring the people who help you build the company along with you. How is that manageable? Like, there's so many factors that you have to sort of juggle whilst you're building this business. Has it taken you away from what you love? Because this is something that we're speaking to Mikey about last week, and he found that he was building a business rather than doing what he wanted to do, and that really knocked the arsehole out of it for him. So, are you finding that you're being dragged into this stuff you don't want to do?
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. And I went to college and I was an apprentice for 4 years, 5 years, and at no point during that apprenticeship did I want to be sat in an office every day working at a computer thinking about business processes. I wanted to be on site, using my hands and all the rest of it. However, I think you have to lean into the fact that if you want to be a business owner with a business with people, and you want to do exciting things and move the company forward, you have to be flexible. And I've said to quite a few of the guys on that work for us, my role has changed more than anybody's in this company, because I've gone from literally up in the van heading down to Birmingham to Newcastle or London, wherever the job is, and then just hoping the paperwork kind of just sorts itself out and Jess, kind of gets on top of that for us, to now, like, it just can't work without us really leveling up the office side. And that means I've got to be here doing it and driving it. But luckily, the guys on site, I trust 100%. And the contractors that we use as well, trust 100%, because they know that they aren't going to be rushed. They aren't going to be kicked up the arse if they've got something wrong, because everyone fucks up at some point. But, there's going to be mistakes made, but I've got their back if something happens. And like I said, I think everybody goes to work wanting to do a decent job to a high standard. It's just that they ain't got the time. They're not getting paid enough. They get treated like an arse. And they end up massive. Just can't be arsed.
And you're just for the viewers, you're MCS, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're talking, you've got to get the lead, get the work come in, spec it up, quote it, order it, do it, and you've got to provide all that after sales bump that is. Yeah. And when you've got a lot, there's the good old file, so you've got all that too. So there's a lot of before process, after process. Arguably, maybe the job's not as big as the rest of it.
So back before all of this energy crisis and before everyone else was getting into it, when we were doing it, there was times when I first signed up to MCS, me and Jess were looking at the cost and we're like, oh, my neck. I don't know if this is going to be worth it, because it's just so much work and so much cost.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that when they're getting into it, but also customers don't realize that when they're asking for a reprice and can we change this? And you're like, I've got to do all that again. But,
because it's not just a matter of taking a panel off. All the paper has got to be changed and adjusted.
Variations of contract and paybacks and all this sort of stuff.
One of the things that me and Jamie sort of disagree on is the usefulness of software and apps like Tradify and stuff like that. Not necessarily software in general, but software for running your business. Jamie's a big proponent of Excel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I tend to think that sometimes, yes, he's right when he says that a lot of these Tradify and Payaku and people like that, they are just a nice user interface for Excel, essentially. Do you find value in those softwares or not?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, we use Excel, we use Word, we use that, but we also use a business management software called SimPro, which is it's expensive. And I think you could probably do everything you need to do on Excel and Word and sort of the suite. The thing that is tricky is putting the time in to build it. And before we got this office and before we sort of started to grow with more people, me and Jess built on a night an Excel pricing spreadsheet. But then when we're looking now to keep track of stock, to raise purchase orders, to do just loads of stuff, to have like a management system that we keep all the customers' photos on, which I know you could use OneDrive, and we do use OneDrive, but create job sheets and everything else, to have that all in one package is really helpful. But equally, if you're talented enough with Excel and the suite, I think you probably could make something. But for me, it was just like, I need to.
I've got to stop, because what you're saying about us disagreeing is right, yeah. But when you get to Sam's level, I don't disagree. Obviously, there's Service Mate, there's SimPro, there's another one called Maestro and all that. There's a few of them, yeah. At your level now, I don't disagree. You need software, but obviously, when we speak on this podcast, we are often speaking to the 1-2 man bands. But yeah, at your level now, if you lose 50 brackets for a solar panel because your stock check's wrong, that's not good enough. You need to know where that's gone. So yeah, I get it at your level, to be fair, but certainly down the bottom end, I don't think people need it. But yeah, you are clearly moving on to that area now, aren't you? Where you need to know where stuff is.
You need to have something that everybody can use as well, and I think it's one of those things that if someone goes in and there's some sort of formula that's wrong, that's spitting out a weird number, and you've got people that aren't clued up on that, you might notice it yourself and go, why does it say I need 10 of those when I actually 20? But someone that isn't as clued up on Excel, that just has been told to put this number here and that number there, you need someone to be able to look at it. But like I say, equally, I think I won't rush into any really expensive software without first exploring what you can do with Excel, because there's so much YouTube videos on it all. And that's where me and Jess learned for our first pricing spreadsheet, which was really good. But it was,
For me, as a one-man band, I'm finding that QuickBooks for construction and Google Calendar is the one. QuickBooks for construction, because it does everything. So I just send it to my accountant, done. And then the Google Calendar is fantastic. I just love it. So
we're going to come back to this on a pod in the future, because I think we're going to come back to this on, because at the end of this run, when we've had the guest on next week, I think me and you are going to interview each other, aren't we, about where we're at, and we're going to go over all this kind of stuff, because we've covered quite a lot of levels and quite a lot of angles in this. But it's what you're comfortable with, isn't it? If it makes you feel good, then I suppose you're right.
At the moment, Sam, how many employees do you have out in the field and in the office?
So out in the field now, I'm not there. There's only two guys out in the field, but we use a lot of really good subcontractors to work with us on the job. So there'll always be an oval member of staff on the job, but we tell customers that. But we may be running 2 jobs a week, something like that, usually depending on the scale of the job. And then there's what is there now? There's 1, 2, counting the desks, 1, 2, 3, for five of us in the office, apart from Jess at the minute, who's on maternity, but she will be coming back.
Often, when you talk to a lot of people in business and that, they often say, like, when a company has more in the office than they do in the field, it's almost like you're doing it the wrong way round.
Yeah.
Like, how do you what is your answer to that at this stage?
Yeah, I'd say 100%. And that's why I have to get the processes right now, because we can't. I was thinking about this on the way down to the office today, and I feel like it can just be a bun fight. You can just get a lead in and then go, you do it, and you do this, and you do that. But you'll need double the amount of people to handle it, because everyone's like doesn't really know what they're doing, and this, that, and the other. So, but until I get those processes sorted and the office sort of tip top in what they do, I can't expand the on-site side much further, because I'm just pissing into that pot, and it just all becomes even more of a mess. So
you're not at total capacity on site, but you could streamlining the office will get you a bit more out of it, will it?
Yeah. So on site, there's always improvements that can be made. We could probably expand that if we wanted to, but because there's so much back end stuff to get a job over the line to the point where the guys need to be on site, you need that process to be really slick so that you've got the work coming up. Because if I was to double the on site side, I need double the amount of work, which at the minute I probably need double the amount of people in the office to get through it, because our processes aren't nailed yet.
Also,
and then the overheads are just blowing up.
Also, with solar, so much of it, and certainly with the MCS side, so much of it is admin work.
Yeah.
Like, it might even be skewed towards admin work more than it is. Like, the solar.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Relatively not easy. Well, it is relatively easy. It's it's a set way of doing it, and you get in there and you do it. And then in the office, they might be compiling different serial numbers, all kinds of nonsense for a week. Yeah. And so, yeah.
And just to add as well, for viewers that don't know Sam, don't follow Sam, or you could on Overall Renewables on Instagram, whatever. Yeah, you're not localized, Sam. You're all over the country, aren't you? So if you get a job like a gear goes down to Leeds or something, and then someone doesn't send the brackets that hold the panels down, or someone forgets a bag of bolts, that's a big expense in it to rectify that. So
we had a job in Lewisham.
Yeah,
so we're based in York, and we had a job in Lewisham that me and Bill were on with Dean, one of our subcontractors, and there was a crane on. This job came in late, and we had like literally under a week to get it all the way through the process. And they said, right, the crane is going at the end of this week. So we arranged everything, got it all signed up, contract signed, got all the order placed. We got there on site, and half the gear's missing. And we ring the supplier, and they go, "Oh, sorry, yeah, we forgot to send that half of the order." So we had to lug all this.
That's the one thing for solar. That's the one thing for solar, that if you're doing sockets, kitchens, lights, rewires, industrial machinery like I do, even stuff like that, there are people dotted around that will sew you stuff. But solar's not like that, is it? You're not going to go and buy some brackets or something, which is the real killer for you, I suppose, if it goes right or wrong.
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
One of the things, I'm really not baffling me, but I'm really trying to find out how to do better in my early stages, is how are you finding work? Like, because a lot of people go, I only get work by word of mouth. Yeah, all right, maybe you do. But if you want to expand at the rate you are, and you want to do what you're doing, you're not getting it just from word of mouth, are you?
No. So social media is where we get, I'd say 80% of our work.
When you say social media, like iron that out for me a bit.
Yeah, so Instagram, YouTube's a big one. Not really anything on TikTok, but my socials have kind of slowed down a little bit because of all this business side of things. But it's not just direct customers that we get leads through. It's other electricians, builders, plumbers, people like that that then are working on a job and recommend us to that job.
I was just going to say to you there, your Instagram is very sparky faced, isn't it? But I've read that wrong, innit? Your Instagram is very other contractors that might bring you work facing. Is that Is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean,
thought
to be
I
honest,
see that.
it's not that deep. Really, we're literally, I like just putting on what we're doing, why we're doing
Fair enough.
things, and people I think gravitate to that because I've said to a lot of people that have said, oh, we want to get our Instagram up and running. If you got any advice, I just said, don't sell on it. Don't sell. Just talk about what you're fitting and show that you're passionate about it, and people gravitate to that. If you're genuinely interested about what you do and you enjoy it. You can talk about it via, a voice note, or you put in posts up talking about how you've got on that day. And as long as you aren't crap at it and you're able to show good workmanship, then I think people gravitate to it, really.
I think that's sage advice, mate. I think there's a lot of anti-advert going off, and
massive.
That is good. That is good advice. Yeah. Like, just be yourself, show people what you're doing, and they'll make their own money, won't they? Like,
and people like people, and people buy from people, and at the end of the day, if you're good enough at what you do, your work will sell itself as long as you've taken the photos, taking the videos on it. So yeah, that's what we do.
When it comes to, it's a bit all over the shop at the moment. When it comes to profit, when you're pricing up a job, one of the things me and my brother are going into like a bit of a side business as well. We're doing garage conversions and stuff. My brother's a builder. He has been for a long time. And I've picked up quite a few around here. So I do the electrical. He does the fit out and stuff. And one of the things we keep arguing about is how do you create the profit when you're doing the quote? So I'm trying to drum it into his head that our wages are a cost. So us doing the work that day, say it's 250 quid a day to do for our wages, that isn't the profit. And he can't get it around his head.
Yeah, because builders are used to jobbing day rates, aren't they? That's their mentality.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to talk about it. So yeah, definitely try and get yourself out of the headspace of your hourly rate is your profit, because it's definitely not. If you weren't doing the work and it was someone you employed, you would have to make money on their wage. So you've got to treat your own wage like that. And so what we do is, firstly, you need to know what your overheads are that are eating away, no matter if you're working or you're not. So for us, like this place, the electric, van, finance, MOT, insurance, and basically put all that into like a spreadsheet or something like that and work out what that is. So what you're spending. And then what we've done is, I'm trying to remember exactly how we've worked it out, but we've then divided that up over the number of the number of employees that are effectively doing the work, and that gets added onto their hourly rate. So we're covering our overheads and the employees' hourly rate in what we're billing them out for. So Artisan got a lot of stick about 700 quid a day or whatever, but when you start adding up how much it takes to run a company and all the overheads and everything, then you're pricing in some wild figures. And actually, then on top of all of that, you've got obviously your materials. Materials can vary in margin, but never any less than 25% on the materials. But usually between for a job as a total, our sweet spot is somewhere between 20 and 30%. So it depends on the scale of the job, really.
Because that's interesting, because some people work out the profit by having their labor on site, and their labor might cost, the cost of the labor might be 200 quid a head, but they'll charge them out at 400 quid a head, and that 200 quid is their profit. Yeah, which I don't really like to do it like that.
That's true, though, isn't it? If you're dealing with a whole product like a solar install, you have the profit on. If you set out to be a jobbing electrician, a day rate electrician, we shouldn't be casting that off in this conversation. You know what I mean?
Oh no, for sure.
There are people out there. Your best bet is to do day rate. So don't think we're having a knock at you, because the different there's labour, then there's a product of his labour in there. Is what I'm trying to get at.
I think on that though, just to clear that up as well, is where you mentioned there that the labour is costing you 200 quid. Is that what you're paying that person to do
Yes.
that job, or does that include the van, the subscription to Tradify or Simpro or whoever, your Microsoft package, your all this other stuff? Because actually, it might be 250 quid that's actually costing you. So you need to add that on top. This is only my advice. I'm no massive expert in it, but you add that on top, and then you apply your markup on top of that, because then that is actually your profit. Because otherwise, if you've priced in 25% profit, you've actually maybe only earned 15% because you've had to then take out of that all your subscriptions, your MOT, your
sundries.
Yeah, all the stuff that you think, well, it's only a little bit. But then over a course of a year, that really does add up. And you get to the end of the year and you go, oof, we had some really good jobs. You look at it and you go, I thought I'd have earned more. And that's because you need to apply those costs at the point of billing yourself out. And that goes for, someone working on their own to someone miles bigger than us. All that needs to be priced in right from the start.
See, that's an amazing bit of advice, actually, because, when it comes, it's funny this week, I've got a bit of a weird story. I had a customer, she phoned me up. She's like, oh, I need some cameras fitted, blah, blah. It's fine. They're Ring cameras. She wanted one at the end of the garden, one halfway up the garden, and one in on the front door, like a Ring doorbell. Got round there and, priced it. I had a look, and then I went home to do a load of quotes that day. Anyway, she's ringing me up. I need the quote now. And I'm like, fucking hell, what's going on here? Anyway, I just threw out a number in the end. Got pressured into it, threw out a number, got round there. So to fit 3 cameras wasn't particularly difficult. There was power relatively close. It wasn't going to be a lot of work, but I put 200 quid on that. And I got there. So I turned up to do the job, and I was already like, why have I done this? Well, honestly, why have I done this? And I turn up and she's outside, full-blown row with the neighbours next door, because it's all to do with the neighbours next door.
Oh, no.
And I'm standing there,
mate.
It's -3 as well. So I'm freezing cold. I'm standing there. I said, I'm just going to go and get in the car. So I'm sitting there. Finally, that all calms down. I go in there to start doing the work, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, oh, mate, this is so much. This is going to be like a day's worth of work now. For 200 quid. I was fuming. Anyway, she's all trying. She comes up to me. She goes, oh, I need a hug. Started hugging me. I'm like, this mad old bitch.
The other way around, that's going to get you in a lot of trouble, isn't it?
I know. And I'm like, get off. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, she's now she's telling me all the story about all that. And I'm trying to sort out this Ring doorbell, and I've got this circulation problem in this hand, and my fingers have gone numb, and I can't even get the screws. I've got like a claw. And I just went to her, do you know what? I'm out. I'm pulling the chute today. I'm pulling the chute. I was like, my fingers, I can't use my fingers in this freezing cold. You're not in headspace for me to be here. And it's incredibly, I don't know, incredibly not good.
Let's cut to the chase. Was there actually any ring cameras to fit, or did she pay you 200 quid to go around for a cuddle?
Was she a talker or was she a porker?
Well, here's the thing, right? I got so I bailed. I got home, and she said, will you come and do it another day? And I was like, yeah, no, fine. I'll come and do it on Sunday. And so that's fine. Later on that evening, she phones me up and goes, don't worry about it. I can't afford it. So don't worry, coming.
She's bought the cameras. She's bought the cameras. There's something not right. You probably save yourself a murder there.
Yeah.
So with things like that, getting the quote in right, and I think the bit of advice you said, like, work out what your cost is per day for all of these things. You've got to add that to your day rate, haven't you? You've just got to.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
if you want to know what you want to make, like what you're actually going to make at the end of it, you have to add those costs in, because they're only going to take a chunk out of that at the end of the year.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's mega advice, actually. And I know it's only simple, and people will be rolling their eyes going, why didn't you think of that? Because I ain't smart.
You know, when someone gets a quote as well, you know, when like it doesn't matter if it's the man old woman getting a 3-ring cameras put up or someone having like 27 grams of soda in their back garden. That's the big thing to them. And they've done the decision, they want it round. And when you're making them wait 4 days to a quote, that's all they're thinking about. You're doing 10 other quotes, but they're like, and they don't realise that they're focused on one thing. You're trying to do 10 of that thing.
Yeah.
So often when you get quotas, they're like, when I started off, I used to help make Canada in kitchens, yeah? And you're just banging around these houses every day, lobbing things in, smashing scenes down, blah, blah, blah. What you don't realise is that is the second, maybe third biggest purchase that person will ever make, is that kitchen.
Yeah.
And like you're there, it's normal to you, bashing their walls down. But to them, it's like a magical thing that's happening in their house. Also, they then think that you're there working late at night to get their kitchen done for them. They don't realise that's part for the course of fitting kitchens. So there's all these emotions going off that are totally skewed on each side. And it's weird. Each side thinks completely different things about the job that the other side does.
It is crazy.
It's very, very strange.
Sam, what is the so what sort of money are you turning over at the moment as a company? I know, but it's a flex for you to say, I think. You know, how old are you, mate?
I'm 29.
You're 29.
Is anyone my age on this program?
I know. Makes me feel old. Do you know what made me feel even older than talking to Mikey and this guy this week? My barber come round to cut my hair this week, and he goes, "Oh, look at your eyebrows," and had to trim my eyebrows.
Oh, no.
You know you're old when you've got long eyebrows, bruv.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what are you turning over, boss?
Yeah. So for me, it's always that thing, and I think I sent Jamie a voice note on this. Turnover is vanity, profit is sanity. So you can turn over 10 million and earn £1. Like that's. But for us, it's a nice gauge for how the work is increasing and the jobs. So for us, I can't remember exactly, but I think last year it was like 1.4 or 1.6 million, somewhere between there.
Wow.
But the
change
fortune. But the kit costs a fortune. You know, it's
Do you know the last bit of that phrase, Sam?
What's that?
Do you know the extra bit on that phrase you just said?
No,
I know it differently from the book, The Streetwise Subby. So it's
okay.
It's turnover's vanity, profit is sanity, cash flow's the king.
Okay. Well,
that's the extra bit on the end, because obviously we all are. You just like pumping every penny you've got into those solar panels.
Yeah.
Then when you get paid, you're doing it all again, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's like and without that turnover, it must. If someone's a late pay, it must absolutely slow you right down. Not saying destroy, but it must affect things. And
do you know what we haven't spoken about yet?
What's that?
So not only have you built this nice company, it's doing you well. All right, it's stressful, but you've built a nice company. You're quite pleased with it, I think.
Yeah, day-to-day stresses, but yeah, I like doing it and everything. Yeah.
You've also gone out and developed a cable. Is it
alongside
Doncaster?
Yeah. It's
is it Doncaster cables you developed it with?
Yeah.
I'll get into that a bit.
Yes. Yeah, so it was a bit of a mad experience, really. So I'd been to survey a job, and the cable run had to go outside to the DC side of things, and it was an absolute beast conduit. Like it would have looked horrendous and everything. And I knew a couple of the guys at Doncaster Cables through something else that I'd been chatting to them about, and so I rang them on the way to my next survey and said, have you ever come across basically a multi-core DC cable? Because there's all this stuff around SWA not being suitable and going to scrap it, even though they recommended it, and all this sort of stuff. So I was kind of like, there must be an easier option here. So I spoke to Doncaster Cables. They said, no, I've never heard of anything like that, on the market. We can have a little look. Rang me back and said, no, can't find anything around it. And they said, can you come in tomorrow to have a chat? I said, yeah, I can actually, weirdly, just a gap in the diary. So I went in, and they'd already kind of like mocked up what they thought I was thinking. And it wasn't what I was thinking, but it showed that they were actually quite invested in it already. And the guys at Doncaster Cables are fantastic. Like the think out the box, They give you the time to explain your ideas, and have been really good. And then it's taken about a year to get it to this point, and throughout that, solar only got more popular. The energy crisis has come in, and it kind of was like, Christ, this is actually, there's been a lot
tell
of people.
Tell me what's the problem that this cable solves?
Yeah. So pretty much any solar installers that watch this will know the dread of having to use some 4mm or 6mm single core PV cable. That's the only real cable that was around. It was just single cores, and you had to mechanically protect it in most cases because you had to come down the side of a building or, through a garage or whatever. So really it needs to be in some conduit or trunking. This cable basically includes either a 2 or a 4-core single core cable. So you've got your 2 positives and 2 negatives, or 1 positive, 1 negative, and it encases it into like a high tough sheath to protect that cable without the need of conduit.
Like this?
Like that one, yeah.
Like
exactly.
this bit I've got here. Sorry, I was eyeing around the guys.
So it's basically armored without the armored, almost.
Yeah. So there's some other ones coming out soon, some different sizes and things like that, which Doncaster Cables will announce. But yeah, so it's coloured already in the polarity and marked, so you know which pair is which. Obviously, the 4-core you have 2 reds, 2 whites, but they are marked. So basically what you can do is you can take that straight onto the roof, put your MC4s on the end of which are the connectors for solar, onto the end of that cable, because it's just the normal solar PV cable that we're all used to using anyway. It's just coloured. Yeah. And then take the other side directly into your isolator and ferrule it up and put it into your isolator or into your inverter without the need to, put a junction box in if you're using a different type of cable or anything like that. Just take it straight out.
So it's basically it's basically a double insulated twin and earth type of thing.
Well, yeah, it's a bit more like it's a high tough cable, but you can strip it in the loft and then just clip your normal PV cables. Just clip them like you would do the standard black ones, because they're still double insulated. So Jamie's having a mission here because
I'm not. It's that easy because all I've used is the stripping tool, and I want to just say, right, I've just done it. And I literally had to grab the bit off the floor. So I did it without any snips, nothing, just a stripping tool. Who put this string in here?
That was my idea. So
I knew when I saw this string, I knew that it was done by someone that did the job. So viewers would have just seen me strip that, and that was a piece of piss. And all I used was a tool.
So how does that? Wait, it's gone out my head. Usually you have to have like a BSEN number. Is that right?
Yeah, so that's more Doncaster Cable side, but it's because it's the solar cores are just normal solar PV cables, so it's already all of that is all because
that's the thing for your MCS, isn't it? They probably wouldn't accept it if it was like a brand new from the ground up cable.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, to be honest. I know that all that side was more Doncaster Cables who were used to bringing like EV Ultra out and all the rest of it.
I've got to say at this point, I've got to just say, Doncaster Cables, right? 15 years ago, I'm going to say this out loud, they weren't very good, right? The cable weren't very good, In the past 15 years, the stuff they brought out, the innovation, and it's British made, is quality. And I always, genuinely, even though they've never, I don't ever shout about it, I use their cable because I like them. I like what they do, stuff like this. And it is better than it used to be if anyone's got horror stories from back in the day when they first started. And no one else is knocking out stuff like this. No one else is doing this kind of ingenious stuff.
Here's an interesting question. Murray McGowan has said, isn't that new cable about 5 times the price of standard DC cable?
So it is more expensive, absolutely.
It will be.
Yeah. So if you were to, and I said this at the battery storage show, I've gone out my head now, the one in Birmingham, the big one that we basically released it at. That was one of the biggest questions. Well, how much am I paying for this?
Yeah.
And I said, if you filled your van with everything you needed for installing normal solar PV cable with your conduit, your trunking, whatever, and then you filled it with PV Ultra, which is that Jamie's got, you'd probably be paying slightly more or a lot more, depending on the cable run, for the PV Ultra. The cost saving is in the installation side. but also in the neatness that you can easily do this, because it's just like clipping an armored cable, rather than having to do your sets, your bends, and all the rest of it.
The last thing you want to be
Is that-
doing is doing a load of either trunking or conduit, because at the end of the day, unless you're using what's that stuff, conlock crap, it's going to take you a long time to do that install.
Why you just want to deal with that single package, don't you? But if you want to deal with that single package rather than what are basically 4 floppy cables, you've got to pay for it. So that's just a cleat job, and it cleats all those metal ones you get.
Metal ones,
If you've got infinite time, go for the fuck around factor. You know what I mean?
No, I say it's not saying that the old way is wrong. It's just saying that the old way is just takes forever. And you might have, I've said to a few people at the show, if you've got an inverter in your garage, the panels are going on top of your garage, you're probably not going to use PV Ultra unless you've got like an offcut that you want to use up. But if you've got your inverter in your garage, panels at the other side of your house, and you've got to go up a gable, out of a garage wall, up a gable wall, through a loft, and then out onto a roof. Like, this is time saving is just going to be immense.
This is what you use when you need to use it. Like you say, I bet you don't even use it sometimes. I bet because you're not going to come off a loft.
I use it whenever I can. I use it whenever I can.
Are you going to come off a roof into a loft with this, or are you going to use normal cable? There's no need, is there? If you're straight through the loft,
do you know what's good about that?
Yeah.
Do you know what's good about that?
If you need to get down, you can use it.
Yeah.
One of the good things about that is if you're doing an install down on the coast, one of the biggest problems since I've moved down here that I found is like nothing lasts, and certainly any conduit or any steel trunking or anything steel that you put in down here, 2 years is going to be needing replacing. So that gets around that problem as well. It's pretty good.
Yeah. I've just do what everyone asks you. Just before in the chat says it, we know they're the same colours, but one of them's got a line on it,
Yeah.
So that's what everyone asks. It's to save someone asking it. Is that negative or is that just dashes?
They're just dashes. So you've got just dashes, a pair that's not dashed and a pair that is dashed. So I think Doncaster Cables have changed it slightly, where they did the inner core of one pair white and one pair black, but they've changed that after reconsidering it, because I said to them, look, you won't be able to tell which pair is which when you've got your MC4 on. So they've gone back to the dashes now. So if anyone's going to be using it, then just be aware that your first bit, they've changed it all now, but the first bit that you might just have to look at the end of the cores, and there'll be 2 that are different colour. But it won't be long till all that's gone. And it's
just trials, isn't it? People manufacture all try new things because that's how things like this get made, I suppose.
Yeah. Do you know what we've done?
It's a good bit of kit.
Do you know what we've done? We haven't given away our tester. I'm actually going to do the giveaway. I know it's a liberty now, but I'm actually going to do the giveaway on Instagram. I'm going to sort that out a bit later on. I'm going to do the giveaway on Instagram because it's just not going to happen now. We're 10 minutes over as usual now. Sam, I think that you may not only been the Spark of the Year, you might have been the Guest of the Year so far.
Wow, thank you very much.
It's been a really good. What is Jamie doing? He's always got a problem. He's always such an attention-seeking child. He is, honestly. But yeah, no, mate, it's been absolutely fascinating. I'd love to get you back on again, like towards the end of the year, to see your progression, how you've got on.
Well, I'd love to come back on and in a few months' time or something like that, and just give you an update on the processes side.
Yeah, man.
It might be really, really useful for people watching as to how we tried to do it, and we probably made some mistakes along the way. But if we can help out, then it'd be great.
I tell you what, it was one of the things about the Sparky community at the moment. It is absolutely fascinating. For myself, I had Azuri Electrical Liberato come down. I didn't know how to do I've never, not that I don't know how to do it, I have never done a electric car charger before. So there's some intricacies that you have to know about it that I definitely didn't know. I could have watched some YouTube channels, but you're sort of winging it. So I invited Libby down to have a look at, to work with me for the day. And honestly, he came down. We had a great day, belly laughing all day, fitting this thing. And we're on the seafront looking out at the sea all day. It was a cold day, but it was a nice clear day. He come back to mine for dinner with the family and stuff. That's honestly, it's changed my whole outlook. And I wonder if you feel this, the community around you in this industry, if you're moving in a positive way and you're trying to build yourself up, everyone's just wants you to win.
Yeah, everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's just trying to do a good job. Like I said, everyone wants to go to work and do a good job, in my view. And if you put that positivity out and don't try and nut crack everyone to go, you've got half an hour to do this and stuff.
Yeah.
Then I think everyone wants to do a good job. Everyone wants to be nice. Everyone wants to have a laugh and provide for their families or whatever they're saving for. And I think it's one of those that as long as you have that ethos as a company, and what we try to do and will continue to try to do is push that forward, I think other people that want that gravitate to you. And that's why like the subcontractors that we have are fantastic, because we have such a laugh when they come on site, such a laugh, and it's fantastic. And they learn from us, we learn from them, and it's just that, you know, you pick up stuff all the time, because in reality you can't know it all. I've forgotten so much since I've had to go into the office.
Yeah, I bet.
I genuinely think that when you try and grow a business and you have to go into the office, you actually most probably become a worse Sparky, because you're not practicing it all the time.
Oh, mate, do you know what's funny? Talking about that, and I was talking to Libby about this on Friday. I was a commercial industrial Sparky for 15 years, right? I was really good at containment and all the commercial stuff. Great. Swapped over to domestic and stuff. And I would say that the commercials are craft, but the domestic is way more, you have to be way more knowledgeable. So I'm finding that now. I've spent all this time, I'm 15 years deep, I'm 20 years deep as an electrician. But I'm now starting at the bottom again, and it's, you think you know, but you don't know, and it goes the same. As soon as you're out of that world for a bit, you're going to start, like, if I went back to commercial now, I think I'd probably be in a bit of trouble, you know.
Yeah, it is tricky, and the thing is, as long as other people know that and they felt that, and I feel like sometimes the bravado of trying to say that you're the best at everything, and
well, I am.
You know, the reality is, you know, everyone's got weaknesses, and you might once have been a strength, but you've not done it for so long that it's a weakness. And if you say to people, bloody hell, I cannot remember, how do I do this? How do I do that? Other people might take the piss a little bit, but are happy to show you if you ask. And I think that's what's good about the community on Instagram, definitely, is that you ask people, 9 times out of 10, they'll tell you.
I think it's a Sparky community as a whole. I mean, if you you've got absolute legends like Azuri, Mark Allison, Savo, Bundy. Those guys, if you phone them with a problem and ask them a question, they've got the answer for you, and they don't mind giving you 10 minutes. Like Jamie, I phone Jamie 2 or 3 times a week with a technical question.
Which is a pain.
And honestly, he knows the ones and twos. Maybe at some point this year, if you're down in Kent way, maybe I can pop along and maybe do a day for you. And learn the ropes of solar. Yeah,
absolutely, definitely.
Jamie, got anything to add, boss? We're going to wrap it up.
Yeah, what happened there was I've got a dodgy DeWalt charger. I realised my phone was going flat. I flicked the extension lead on, and it tripped my RCD, taking out all the internet in the house. So yeah, that's my own problem. But yeah, it's great for you on time. I've enjoyed it. I didn't know what happened that last bit, but yeah, it's been a good one. And it's nice to hear someone who's willing to be open about the money, the processes, and the problems, mate, which is great, because obviously if people don't hear this kind of stuff, which is why we're doing Business Month, people will get dragged into those business courses. Because as I identified on Instagram the other week, and I said I'm going to do more of it, and you're doing loads of it, so people just have to definitely give you a follow. No one's talking about business. It's like it's a black hole no one knows about. So
I think people feel that
Instagram.
I think people think when they see stuff on Instagram, they think that everything is cool and cushy in the background and everything. When actually we're all just swimming as fast as we can and have massive hulls and weaknesses and things. And that's why this year for us, 2024 is the year of the process, and hopefully by 2025 we'll have it nailed, and we can then. And
we'll come back to you then.
This is my year of getting started.
If you are on Instagram, I mean, I do a lot on Instagram. There's a lot of sparks on there trying to show sparks stuff off to non-sparks or siblings, whatever. If you are what you consider a sparky Instagrammer, let's hear about you, what you're up to in your business and that. You don't have to start doing a financial bit. Start spreading the word, because otherwise people will get sucked in by other people trying to tell them that information. And if we all help each other out, then everyone will know a bit better, won't they? And there's no secrets, really.
no one can come and nick that money from you unless they
No
get
one's,
a balaclava on. So for me, I'd rather just be open and say,
no
these are
one's
the
going to
costs. And,
steal off me how to pay HMRC or some business advice like that. And
yeah,
last week
exactly.
I got well emotional about the old Josie Fantino courses. And what I realised was, for the business advice, just to come back to that for last week, is although I had a bit of fun ragging him off, and I rang him up this week and ragged him off again, yeah, I shouldn't have made it personal about someone. What I would always advise with tuition tonight is due diligence, yeah? Always pause, think about what you're doing. Is it genuine? Am I going to do this? What's the best way to do it? And do that due diligence, that process stuff, and you'll be better off in business than 9 out of 10 people.
And
But
on
yeah,
that
it's good to hear from you,
bombshell,
mate.
Electricians Podcast, we are out.
I saw my dodgy wiring now.